On May 14, 2026, off Alimathaa Island in the Maldives, 5 Italian divers descended toward a cave mouth at 55 meters. Only one of them would be found that day. What investigators uncovered in the weeks that followed changed almost everything about the story. The 5 had come for the reef. At the center of the group was Monica Montefalcone, 51, an associate professor of marine ecology at the University of Genoa. She had been diving for science for more than 20 years, leading coral research across these atolls since 2013, publishing more than 130 papers, and appearing often enough on Italian television that strangers recognized her. Years earlier, she had survived the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami while diving off the coast of Kenya. Those who knew her described a careful, disciplined diver who weighed every risk before going under. Beside her was her daughter, Georgia Somakal, 23, a biomedical engineering student. Mother and daughter had logged roughly 500 dives together. With them were 2 more from Genoa. Federico Gualtieri, 31, who had just finished a doctoral thesis on Maldivian corals under Montefalcone's supervision and was himself a diving instructor, and Muriel Odenino, 31, a research assistant in the same department. The 5th was Gianluca Benedetti, an instructor from Padua who served as operations manager aboard their liveaboard, the Duke of York, both their guide and an employee of the boat. The Duke of York was a 36-meter vessel that catered to recreational and technical divers alike, but the law was unambiguous. In the Maldives, recreational diving stops at 30 meters. The cave they were eyeing began far below that. And it was no ordinary cave. Picture the layout investigators would later map. The mouth opened around 55 meters down. Beyond it lay a large, bright first chamber with a sandy floor. From there, a corridor, roughly 30 meters long and 3 meters wide, bending like an S, led deeper into the rock to a second chamber, a round room swallowed in total darkness. Between the corridor and that second chamber sat a low sandbank. The whole system reached past 60 meters and ran for hundreds of meters into the reef. Here was the danger, in forensic terms. This was an overhead environment, no straight path to the surface. At those depths on ordinary air, divers face heavy nitrogen narcosis, which dulls judgment at the exact moment judgment matters most. And that day, a yellow weather warning was in force. Rough seas, strong winds, and the powerful currents the site was known for. The morning of the 14th, the group prepared to enter the water. There was a 6th diver too, a University of Genoa student who geared up alongside them. At the last moment, she decided not to go in. That decision would save her life, and later make her a key witness. The 5 dropped beneath the surface and finned downward. 30 meters, the legal limit, came and went. They kept going. At around 55 meters, the cave mouth opened ahead of them, and they passed inside. The first chamber was everything the experienced among them would have expected. Spacious, sandy-bottomed, and, with dive lights cutting the gloom, visibility later described as excellent. Imagine you're one of them here, the surface glow fading behind you, the beam of your torch sweeping across pale sand and ancient rock. For people who had spent their lives underwater, it would have felt less like danger than like discovery. But consider what they were carrying. According to the operator and the specialists who later examined the site, this was standard recreational equipment, most likely single cylinders, filled with air, no staged backup tanks, no dedicated cave gear, and critically, no guideline. In cave diving, a continuous line back to the exit is the single most important safety tool there is. You lay it on the way in and follow it on the way out. Without it, a diver in the dark is trusting memory alone. They crossed the long corridor and reached the sandbank. Going forward, it was easy, a gentle rise to slip over into the second chamber beyond. They moved into that round, lightless room, deeper now, near 60 meters. And here, the clock was already against them. At that depth, on those tanks, the recovery experts later calculated they had perhaps 10 minutes of usable time at the bottom, maybe less. Every breath at 60 meters drains a cylinder several times faster than it would at the surface. The narcosis would have been settling in. The novelty of the chamber, the thrill of it, and behind all of it, a margin shrinking by the second. Then it was time to turn back. And this is where the cave set its trap. When the divers faced the way they had come, the sandbank no longer looked like a gentle rise. From inside the second chamber, the recovery team believes, it presented almost as a solid wall, an optical illusion that hid the low opening of the exit corridor completely. The route out was right there. It simply did not look like one. Any movement would have made it worse. A single fin kick near that sandy floor stirs up clouds of fine silt, and in seconds, excellent visibility collapses into a brownout where a light beam reflects straight back at you. Now picture it. You are at 60 meters, narcosis fogging your thoughts, your air gauge falling, and the only way home has vanished behind what looks like rock. To the left of the true exit was another opening, a second corridor, just a few dozen meters long. It led not out, but inward, to a smaller third chamber, a dead end. The reconstruction suggests the divers, unable to find the real corridor, took this one instead, believing it was the way back to the light. There was no way out from there, and by the time that became clear, they were almost certainly out of options and nearly out of air. On the surface, the alarm was not raised until 1:45 in the afternoon, late enough to suggest the group had been expected to stay down a long time. A search began at once, hampered by the same rough conditions that had been flagged that morning. The first body was located that same evening at 6:13 p.m. It was Gianluca Benedetti, the guide, found in the first chamber, near the point where the corridor began. The other four were somewhere deeper inside. Maldivian military divers pressed in over the following days, reaching as far as the second chamber before sea conditions forced repeated halts. Then the recovery itself took a second life. On May 16th, Sergeant Major Mohammed Mahoudi, 44, of the Maldives National Defense Force, surfaced in distress and was rushed to hospital. He died of decompression illness. The details are sobering. He had been breathing compressed air, was certified only to 50 meters, and had reportedly descended to around 60, into an overhead cave, with no portable recompression chamber on site. A senior officer later confirmed that his Coast Guard divers were certified only to that 50-meter limit, and that a program to extend their training had only just begun. With the national team at its limit, the dive safety organization DAN Europe brought in specialists. 3 Finnish rebreather cave divers, Sami Pakarinen, Jenny Vesterlund, and Patrick Gronqvist, veterans of the famous 2014 Plura cave recovery in Norway. They arrived on the 17th, spent a full day planning, and went in. What they found let them reconstruct the final minutes. The 4 divers were together in the dead-end chamber near 60 meters, as if they had all followed the wrong corridor and run out of room and time at once. The team's coordinator, Laura Maroney, said the divers likely had only those 10 minutes or less, and that realizing they had taken the wrong path, low on air, would have been terrifying. Pakarinen was blunt about the gear. It was not cave diving equipment, and it was not optimal. He and his team, he said, would never enter such a place without a reel and a guideline. In most cave diving deaths, he added, the cause comes down to human error. By May 20th, all 4 remaining bodies had been recovered, Montefalcone and Gualtieri first, then Georgia and Adenino. It became the deadliest diving incident in the history of the Maldives. 2 investigations opened, one by Maldivian authorities and a culpable homicide probe by prosecutors in Rome. The Duke of York's operating license was suspended indefinitely. The questions of responsibility grew tangled fast. The boat's operator said the vessel was permitted only for dives to 30 meters, and that the group had been briefed on that limit. Lawyers for the Italian tour company said the operator never knew the divers planned to go deeper and would never have allowed it. The University of Genoa stated the fatal dive was not part of any official research mission. Montefalcone's husband, Carlo Somacal, defended the diver's experience and asked rescuers to recover his wife's GoPro camera. Italian investigators seized the diver's electronics and equipment, and the Finnish team had documented the site underwater, photograph by photograph, handing it all to the authorities. The 2 probes remain open. The Finnish divers, who had recovered the dead before, said the images they carried up would stay with them for the rest of their lives. The exit corridor was always there, 3 meters wide, 30 meters to open water. 5 experienced divers died only a few body lengths from the way home, fooled by a wall of sand that was never a wall at all.